You guys make labels. I'm curious if you've seen any really funny labels, Bigfoot jerky or something silly in the label database.
Yeah, we'd probably come across like funnier cheese names than anything else, to be honest
Oh,
with you.
there you go. Now we're
A lot
talking.
of, lot of specialty stores and like cheese providers use us.
A lot of puns in there, I imagine. Hello and welcome to Shelf Confidence, a podcast brought to you by the Pennsylvania Food Merchants Association that focuses on trends and innovations in the food and beverage industry. I'm John Zimmerman, your host, and today I'm happy to welcome Jacob Long, the business manager for MarketSquare Tech. Thank you so much for joining us, Jacob. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Yourself, John?
I'm hanging in there. Looking forward to our chat here today. Figure we'll just dive right in. I was hoping if you could really kind of step me through the history of MarketSquare Tech. I think you guys got a really interesting backstory with lots of branches and deep roots that I'd love to hear all about.
Oh boy. Yeah. Um, our whole app ecosystem business came from a homegrown need. We have a farm market and creamery downstairs, the Plum Creek Farm Market and Creamery. We use Square as a point of sale system, but they were kind of missing some features that we needed, specifically with like labeling and like weight-based labeling. Now, if you're in like any grocery setting, whether it's deli, fish market, butcher shop, anything, that is like a core component of the business. And Square just didn't like really have anything like that integrated into the system. So we built that out from an internal need. And the first person to put any code to the project was my boss, the owner, Keith Zimmerman.
Very strong
And
last name. I like it.
yeah, right. Very, very popular. I'm a little behind with the longs, but we're not too far behind. But he and his wife, Kendra, they created this farm market and creamery just from a small produce stand that originally started up with, I believe, Kendra's father and mother. Unfortunately, Kendra's father died, and so there was a bit of a lull in between there. But then Keith and Kendra wanted to carry on the family tradition, so they purchased a parcel of land over here in Burnville and got planting. And just a couple of years later, they got going with their produce stand, and from there they created their or bought their first storefront. And 4 years later, maybe 3 years, you're already like, okay, we have to expand and create this massive facility that I'm at right now, that has a, a pretty comprehensive market downstairs and the creamery. And in tandem with doing all this, Keith is also trying to write code for all this. And now Keith's sister and his brother-in-law, they're also business owners in this whole venture. So fortunately, they had things split pretty well. But even then, like trying to code all this is not the easiest thing in the world. So they started really kind of building out the business, doing a little bit of outsourcing, and trying to develop some of that in-house talent that we have today.
Cool. That's quite a spread going from owning the farm there all the way up to coding. That's quite a jump.
We've got the pretzel factory in the back, and in addition to doing all this, I forgot to mention that Keith also patented some special ice cream pump to where you can feed pretty much anything into the ice cream machine and come out with soft serve. He is very busy with all that, and he's gone back and forth with some manufacturing plants and some very large fast food chains and some even local businesses like Ula Bowls. They're going to be implementing it here soon. I don't know if they have hula bowls over by you guys or
I don't
not.
know. Look,
They're like these acai bowls. My wife's crazy about them.
sound good.
Yeah, no, they're delicious. But he's trying to branch out there. Ken is like really running the soft pretzel factory in the back.
I think
Yeah,
that's really cool. So you guys had your own operation going on and then didn't have what you needed, so you made your own labeling system, your own inventory system. That's that's kind of cool. I mean, that's quite a jump from that to coding. So I'm curious if you could talk to me a little bit about like what are the common challenges that some of the businesses face when they're dealing with labeling, especially with like perishable items.
so there are some compliance issues. Now it depends on the state that you're in. Not every state has like really strict guidelines, but the FDA has kind of these broad regulations that legally you don't necessarily have to adhere to 100%, but if somebody gets salmonella from your business, you're going to be held liable.
Yep, not a
So
good look.
Yeah, it's like maintaining security compliance with software.
Yeah.
It's like you don't always legally have to have it, but if you don't and you get hit, it's a bad day. So we try and bridge some of that. And a big issue that a lot of these small businesses have is bringing their branding to their products. Now you can go online and order labels from whatever manufacturer that's preset to, has your logo and has some of this information, but it's not going to give you these real-time updates that being connected to your point of sale system is going to have. And it's way more expensive,
Mm.
way more expensive. Here we just give you the template, you pull all the information over from Square automatically, and then you just hit print. It's a very simple system.
Very cool. So yeah, I imagine that streamlining probably really helps with compliance and everything else.
Yeah, and even things just like data entry errors, um, when you're punching in numbers at the register, you make mistakes, and believe it or not, those add up to quite a bit at the end of the year. So you may not have quite the level of loss that you think you do. It's just when you've got a slammed cashier on a busy weekend, and they're hitting in numbers for the weight, hitting in everything, quite a few dollars go missing by the end of the year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, about what is the efficiency on that? I mean, obviously doing something manually versus using computers and databases, I'm sure there's quite a jump there. But what are the efficiencies and cost savings on something like this?
As with all technology, there's a learning curve. You
Sure.
know, once you get past that, and it's kind of a small one, it it makes the process incredibly efficient. There are label printing scales that have the same sort of ease of use and efficiency that we have, but the main factor there is one, once again, those are really expensive, and two, you're not getting these automatic syncs with Square. So normally the process would be, you go to your point of sale system and you enter a new item that you're carrying in your inventory, or you want to update the price. Then you've also got to go to your scale and you've got to do that. And you've got to make sure everything's formatted properly. Here, the sync is seamless. It's a much cheaper process. And, it's as easy as putting the item on the scale and hitting print. You set some defaults in the beginning of like, I want all my potato salad labels to be like a 3 by 3 by weight label. So then that automatically gets populated in. You can preset some tear weights. When you're working off of like an iPad right there at the deli, and it's as simple as 2 taps, put the label on the product. There goes the customer.
So how does that work exactly? I mean, like obviously like there's a learning curve like you were saying, but I imagine every company and every retailer operator is a little different. Like how do you manage that when you do have retailers that maybe aren't as up to speed technically with, say, someone who perhaps is maybe, our age, for example?
Right now, that is a primary concern of ours. Um, and I say it's a primary concern because we weren't doing enough to make it as intuitive as we wanted it to be. It was all built for internal use, and so trying to recreate that user experience and user interface to be, I mean, any new software you use, it guides you through the entire process, holding your hand. And fortunately, quite a few small businesses, particularly with like our demographic, it 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 just adds such a personalized touch that they really do appreciate. Instead of having to, fight your way through the chat bot, fight your way through the phone lines, like everybody's got my number. And yeah, this is a 9 to 5 job, but it's not 9 to 5 for me. Anytime our customers have issues, unless I'm, in the middle of a podcast or something, I'm normally pretty prompt at getting back to them.
No, that makes sense. I mean, yeah, it's all about the customer at the end of the day. I mean, so how is the proper labels and labeling technology in general kind of change that relationship with the customer? I imagine it's impacted trust. I'm curious, like how does that work?
With this personal interaction, I tend to know a lot about the businesses. I tend to get to know some of these customers really well. And, we have like a 30-day free trial. And, during that process, when they're trying to decide, do I want to continue with the subscription or do I want to like keep manually doing it? I end up finding an awful lot about them. So even beyond like the surface level business trust of like, you trust some big companies because, well, there's a lot of recourse because they're a big company. But here, I get to know the owners, I get to know the managers, um, and we build that personal level of trust, that personal level of respect. I'm always very transparent. I may not know the answer. Let me go grab our lead developer and bring him on the conversation, pull him away from whatever is super important that I'm
Whatever
bothered.
podcast he's on,
Yeah, yeah. His name is uh, Jake as well. That's why I go by Jacob here.
Ah,
Um, even outside of that surface level business trust, there really develops like a personal connection with these businesses. I remember one in particular. Um, if they're like very, very local or pretty local, sometimes I'll just go there and help them set it up, just talk to them in person. Um, One I'd like to shout out is Golden International Market, over by Harrisburg.
hmm.
I I spent some hours in there, uh, just talking to the owner, getting to know so much about his life, him knowing so much about my life. At one point he was so slammed. I spent an hour talking to a 79-year-old Russian man who is giving me his life story. I'm giving him my life story. Uh, just learning and growing as a person through the process with our customers. We're not perfect, and we're trying to improve our systems just like they're trying to improve. So working through that together and showing that we're more than just insert every tech company in the world's name. uh, it really kind of adds something to the business.
No, I'm sure it does. I mean, yeah, I was going to say like most of the interactions you get with a lot of the larger tech companies is probably going to be a chat bot on their website for the most part. But with you guys, you talk to a person. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, and we are looking at like implementing a chatbot, but mostly like for navigational purposes around the
Sure.
website. Um, of like, here are some of our FAQs. Like, do you want to book a demo? Click this button. Uh,
Gotcha.
Things like that. But we don't ever want to get rid of that human component.
No, it's better that way. Now, you get a better customer experience, you. Get better customer relationships.
Yeah,
Word of mouth is
exactly.
always a great way to do it.
I like knowing our customers.
Yeah,
It does provide some security.
I would imagine. So, what advice would you have to offer some mid-sized food businesses looking to improve their labeling practices?
Besides get DeliLabel.
Good advice.
Um, it can just be such a time-consuming process that having something on the back end that automates it is really just going to give you so much of your life back. Um, and we're looking at integrating with other point of sale systems, but right now it's just Square. And the reason it's Square and it started with Square and that it's always been Square is Square is kind of the best at what they do. There are like specific industry point of sale systems that some of these businesses may be using, but nobody can really top Square because they've got this huge third-party developer market like us, to where we can customize your flow, your solution, your point of sale process better than anything else, better than any traditional. You get a card reader from the bank, and you're already losing money because they're charging you way more than any other point of sale system would. And if you want to plug in some third party services to that, they're charging like $500 a month for
Mm.
counting your beans or what have you. It's just very laborious and just so expensive. So if you're not already with Square, you should be. Through us, businesses have been able to get a 2.5% introductory rate. It's normally 2.6% plus 10 cents on in-person card transactions. And that's already cheaper than your card scanner from your bank's going to be. You're normally looking at like 3 to 3.5%. So besides just saving thousands of dollars a year, you're also going to be saving dozens and dozens and dozens of hours. And you're going to create some uniformity across the products. You're going to introduce a uniform process across your business that is just going to make the process so much easier. You're going to have a lot more time on your hands. It when the bulk products come in, like bulk dry goods, say you want to label nuts, it turns something that is normally like a several hour process if you have enough stock into 30 minutes, one person. It's all done, and that's with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
Obviously, you're making labels for the deli, but this also helps with all your inventory as well, right? Like managing that in the back end.
All of our labels reflect back in on Square. So anytime something is scanned, say, just to walk you through the process, say somebody wants a pound of, hickory smoked ham from the deli, or, a pound of cod at the fish market. They take it out of the case, put it on the scale, weigh it up, hit print, put the label on the packaging. They take it to the front of the office or the front of the store, and it gets scanned, and it reflects back in on the inventory of exactly 1 pound was sold, or however much it really was, because it's never exactly 1 pound.
Hmm.
They say they want a pound. The closest you could get is 0.98. Well, you want to know that at the end of the year, it really starts to add up. At the end of the quarter, even at the end of the month, if you're moving enough traffic through there, um, we're talking about hundreds or thousands of pounds of product lost or unaccounted for. So it makes bookkeeping much easier and that inventory.
No, I would absolutely imagine that adds up, especially over the course of a full year. That 0.98, how many customers? That's pounds and pounds and pounds. That's dollars and time and everything else. So,
Exactly.
how does effective labeling contribute to waste reduction and sustainability goals in the food industry?
With, effective labels, you have a lot less waste. You have less customers kind of cherry picking through the assortment if you want to codify your packed on date, which we allow, or you may even want it transparent. But either way, you're able to keep an eye on your product a lot better. And so the people that are kind of going through and managing the inventory and managing the stock on the shelves are always able to make sure that that is the first presented option. And once it's past a certain date, they're able to pull it off. That's less product going to the trash. That's less plastic going to your dumpsters. It just puts much less of a burden on you for identifying those products that either need to be taken out of the sales cycle or push to the front of it.
Obviously, I'm a product of a digital generation. Like, I'm wondering, like, just on a subtle tangent here, how do people manage this stuff before computers and Excel spreadsheets? I imagine it was just books, like,
Legal pad and pencil,
oh,
uh, you know, uh, maybe an Excel spreadsheet later on. Managing a storefront used to be, uh, I mean, I can't even imagine just such a time-consuming process, where people talk about their grandparents that, were at the shop at 5 a.m. and closed it down at 10 or didn't leave till 10 p.m. and somehow got some sleep in there. We don't have to worry about that these days. We look at a lot of things going on in the world, a lot of modern solutions being presented, and we keep forgetting the fact that we've come so far that, reduce that time in the process tremendously.
getting stressed out just thinking about it. I don't know where I'd be without all my Excel spreadsheets and my sum and functions on the Excel sheet. I'd be lost. I'm not even in an inventory space. So yeah, no, this is that's interesting. Yeah, it's amazing how we've come so far, like 60 years from Wright brothers to landed on the moon, right? Like it's amazing what has happened in the last century or so, technologically speaking. Yeah, so I'm curious, like obviously you guys make labels. I'm curious if you've seen any really funny labels or any kind of interesting labels, maybe some beef, Bigfoot jerky or some other something silly in the label database. Anything ever come across your anything you've ever
Uh,
seen?
we do have at least one jerky business, but I haven't seen any specific names for their products yet.
I imagine they don't have any Bigfoot jerky, so I'm a little disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just saying.
They might have something labeled like it. The coolest name is Electric Beats, though,
All
with
right.
Beets. It's a little vegan restaurant grab and go spot in New York. Yeah, we'd
But
probably come across like funnier cheese names than anything else, to be honest with
oh,
you.
there you go. Now we're
A lot
talking.
of, lot of specialty stores and like cheese providers use us.
So what trends are we seeing in the use of digital labeling for food items? And I'm very curious to see like where is the industry going with all this?
Businesses are able to produce these labels on their own. They're not having to order like 50,000 of them from China or Um, we actually we sell rolls of blank labels for people to print out as well, just to give them some options. We get those from a local provider that's like 15 minutes down the road in Sinking Springs. And they're the best quality labels we've come across by an extremely large margin. I hope they don't hear this and hike the price up on us, but we try and sustain everything as locally as we, or source everything as locally as we can. And businesses have been pretty receptive to that. Just being able to print your own labels for your products is kind of a huge move forward, especially when it's able to automatically sync up with your inventory. They're just like, we created this solution because there was nothing.
So that customization is probably going to be the future of this, do you think, is people wanting to brand their stuff, be on
Yeah,
brand?
yeah, certainly.
So you guys have a lot of branches. You guys do a lot of different things. I'm curious what the future of MarketSquare Tech looks like.
Well, right now we are doing a lot of visual redesigns and kind of rebuilding some of our marketing system. Our main driving force has been very product-led growth. Everything we put in, we put into development. Now, that's just things that are going to annoy them. The things that they're going to love are a lot of changes that are going to bring into the system, features that Swift Label has that DeliLabel doesn't have yet. We're going to be able to finish our products and put them out on the market and put the sort of research into them that is going to give the customer the most value for them. I get a lot of insights from our current customers in terms of how we develop things. So being able to do that at a broader scale, being able to do the market research in terms of things like pricing, stuff like that, it's not going to be so much a shot in the dark. We're going to really fine tune these systems in to try and drive the most value to our customers.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
On the show today, we had Jacob Long, business manager for MarketSquare Tech, makers of DeliLabel, Plum Creek family product. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. If you're interested in learning more about MarketSquare Tech and their signature product, DeliLabel, visit marketsquaretech.com. Thank you for tuning in to Shelf Confidence. If you enjoyed today's episode, please smash that subscribe button, like and share, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, I'm John Zimmerman, and this is Shelf Confidence.